We are recording.
We're
What's going
recording.
on, everyone? It's Henry Dang with Knighton Real Estate Advisors, listing specialists. I am here with Aron D'Alesio, buyer specialist right here. And we are here with our second episode of The Shifting Market.
Episode 2.
Episode 2.
How's it going, Henry?
Good, Aron. How are you doing, brother? It's been a while. How you been?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad.
Getting it
So
on?
today, I guess we'll talk about a little bit about what we're each seeing on the listing side and the buy side.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to talk a little bit about what we can do to actually make sure our buyers are prepared to succeed in this market. So, I mean, first of all, how do you feel that the inventory is looking out there right now?
So within the past couple of weeks over here, Aron, we're starting to see a climb in inventory, right?
Okay.
However, the rate of which homes are selling is super quick,
Right.
meaning that, there's still a heavy buyer demand right now. However, with that being said, I do like to say that we are in somewhat of a sweet spot over here for buyers. So we're starting to see more inventory come up, which is obviously more opportunities for our buyers. At the same time, for our sellers, we're still in a great position over here for our sellers because, our sellers, when we do put their homes on the market, we are seeing situations where we are still in multiple offers. We are still getting great price points, great terms for our clients. So it's still a great situation overall.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, on the buyer side, what are you seeing on the buyer side over there? Because I know it's super busy for you over there.
Yeah. So, there's a surplus of buyers, and there's, even though we're starting to see more inventory, it still seems like there's quite a shortage of inventory in comparison to the demand that's on it right now. So we were looking over inventory earlier this week, and there's actually more now for this time of year than there was last year this time of year. Now there's seemingly a lot more demand on the existing inventory right now than there was last year as well.
Yeah.
So, ultimately it's compressed. The entry-level price point of the market is turning into probably $500,000. Like, I mean, last year, I think you'd see 399s kicking around. And, if you see a 399 these days, it's very likely. I mean, depending on what you're looking at, it's very likely that it's going to go for considerably over that. And, so $500,000 budget can be a little bit of a tricky price point. So, you need to have realistic expectations about, your entry into the market if that's your budget. However, it's still it's still a sound step for for building future security for yourself. You're going to definitely not want to get priced out of the market. So one of the things that we're seeing, and one of the major principal factors of that's driving this market is the low interest rates. So when interest rates are down, typically housing prices go up. And when interest rates are up, prices come down or stabilize and go sideways. And right now they are historically low. So that's creating a surplus of buyers. And, it's still like, it's never a bad time to buy real estate. You know what I mean? It's
Still isn't. It's still not.
There's no point in trying to time the market. And also, like, especially if you're planning on buying a home and entering the market to purchase a house for yourself as a first timer, let's say, it's you're going to be like, there's always going to be market volatility regardless, you know? So, I mean, even if it's high now and it continues to go up, then you want to be in there for that growth. If it goes sideways, you're in there because it's eventually going to go up, because, you know, statistically housing prices always go up. You know, my parents bought their house for $45,000 in the 80s. We'll never see that price point again, right? So it's important that if you want a house, if you want to be in the market, that you get yourself in the door and build from there. Because essentially, you know, with lending prices coming down, lending rates coming down to say like 1.8, you know, your monthly, even if the house is more expensive, the monthly payment is probably still going to be within reason, because, you know, those interest rates on that amount of money, you know, can be very, very significant. So with rates being so low, we're seeing sometimes if somebody buys more of an expensive house this year, that if they were to buy a less expensive house last year, those monthly payments would still be roughly the same. And that's what people need to focus on, that they're buying a mortgage payment, not necessarily get hung up and worried about how much the house costs. And the importance about getting in sooner is that if prices continue to rise, then essentially you're in a position where they might get to a point where you no longer have the down payment to get in, right? So right now, if you have the down payment, you're okay. And the monthly might still be okay for you. However, if you get to a point where prices get higher, it might be a monthly that you can still maybe handle, but then you don't have the money for the down payment. So it's really like, it's always the sooner the better with real estate. It's the one to plant a tree, you know. When's the best time to plant a tree? Because like, if you're planning on buying and staying in there, like, it's a no-brainer. If you can do it, you should. Right now is, you know, if you're a flipper, if you're flipping houses, I wouldn't suggest, I would say maybe consider not looking at the market right now. Wait for it to kind of relax a little bit.
And just to
Because,
touch up on that point over there, yeah, I mean, it's ultimately, what's your game plan, right? I mean, is your game plan to, you know, to have a family home, a primary residence, or is your game plan to, you know, get something, fix it up, and then 3 months, 6 months later, you know, you're gonna flip it again?
Yeah.
If that's the case, I don't know if this market's the best to do that in, right? In this area here, tricky. Yeah,
for investors, right? And it's hard to make the numbers work, you know, if that's your game.
Yeah. And with that being said, I mean, obviously the opportunity is always there. However, you know, in this market here, it's a bit more challenging, I would say, for sure. But just back to that point, I mean, if, you know, most of the people that we work with are, you know, people who are, you know, looking for a primary residence, you know, looking for, you know, to make that next step up. If that is the case, I mean, if we take a look at the history of real estate, I mean, you're going to win at the end of the day, right? It's when you overanalyze and when you think about, you know, timing the market, that's when you really kick yourself in the butt, really, at the end of the day. It's what I find, you know. It's and I'm sure you have the same thoughts as well too, right, Aron?
Yeah, for sure. And at the end of the day, I think that it's you know, if you get stuck in kind of like analysis paralysis, you'll never take the risk. And I mean, to me, it's such a calculated risk. Like, I don't take the idea of debt lightly. I don't like hands in my pockets. But a mortgage is, you know, it's really one of the most sound ways for our generation to build, you know, future wealth and security for ourselves. You know, it's one of the last ways. There's no golden watch retirement anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
Not a lot of pensions, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's something that, if you can get out in front of it and get your foot in the door, it's really an important part of, I think, your future security.
And I think
So
that's the toughest part too. I think the toughest part really, especially with the clients that we work with, some of the clients that we work with, first time buyers, is really just getting your foot in the door. Right.
mhm.
But once you are able to get your foot in the door and, build some equity, that's when, options start opening for you. Right.
For sure.
Just like yourself and myself, right. Just getting in, wasn't the easiest, but the options that we have now, the doors that are open now that we could take, the possibilities and the opportunities that we have now, it's absolutely amazing. Right. And it's
Yeah.
not something you can find in any other, it's tough to find in, other investments. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, obviously it's a good time to sell right now.
It's an amazing time.
Really very nice and good. Really good
Yes.
time to sell. So what are you doing to put your clients in the best position to get the most amount of money for their house right now?
A few things. I would say, starting off with our clients, I think the biggest thing is really, from the get-go, is really just setting expectations. This is a crazy seller's market right now. And, just having that expectation of, hey, guys, this is what we're seeing right now. And sometimes, the data we might take a look at and it may not be relevant at all. However, using this as a guideline over here and going from there, I think it's really, really important to set that expectation to begin with, right? From there, just what I love doing is I love pre-negotiating with, every single realtor who walks through the door of our clients' homes. It's a lot of people say, in this market over here, it's as simple as, popping the sign on the front lawn and just going from there. That may be the case. It's a really, again, super hot market right now. However, having the right agent by your side, having someone that's going to fight for every single dollar for the best terms, it's crucial in this market, right? That could be the difference of, an extra 10K, 20K, wherever the amount is, right?
Yeah, I would say that within that scenario, it's very easy to just say oh, the market's hot, the house will sell itself. And, a lot you get, if you do, you put it up on MLS, maybe you're gonna get some people who see it. Maybe you're gonna have, however many offers you have. The thing is, if you have someone who's skillfully actually working your listing, you'll never know if you could have had 15 or 20 offers as opposed to the 5, right? And that's if somebody's properly working a listing, then it could be the difference. Geez, it could be the difference of 50 to 75,000.
You know
100,000.
100%.
You never really know. So it's like having a professional who understands how this all works. I wouldn't expect to go into an accounting firm and just start nailing the books.
Yeah.
It's not what I do for a living.
That's the last thing we both want to do.
Yeah, for sure. But it ultimately kind of comes down to you're stepping into this forum to do a thing, and you haven't really done it all that much. I'm not taking anything away from people who might want to do that or who have done that in the past. I mean, that's absolutely your prerogative if that's what you want to do. I would, always want to sit down with someone like that and show them what we could offer on that side to, show you how we can bring value throughout that situation, because it's a lot to deal with on your own.
Sure. Definitely. So, I mean, pre-negotiation is a big thing. And then also just having our fingers on the pulse, as a listing agent myself, just having the fingers on the pulse is absolutely crucial, You
Yeah.
know, you always want to capture, you always, at peak interest, that's when you want to convert, right? So meaning, you know, with myself, again, always pre-negotiating, always having a conversation, always, you know, starting that dialogue with other realtors, and knowing when the opportunity is there. So for example, you know, my last two listings, our last two listings over here, we had offer presentation set for X day. With that being said, though, you know, just having that dialogue open with every realtor that's been there, getting the feedback, knowing when peak interest is there. What we did was we ended up moving the offer day to an earlier day, because I knew that, hey, you know what, like, things are hot right now. You know, this is probably the best time for us to get the most amount of money for your home.
Yep.
Because even though this is a shifting market, someone's interest could change from today to tomorrow, right? And you know, especially with inventory rising, we don't want to miss any opportunities for any of our clients. And the biggest thing is always, you know, providing that opportunity, providing that option for our clients, right? End of the day, you know, if we are able to provide that option, it's something that they want to pass after we give them the information, that's completely fine.
Yeah.
What we want to do, though, again, is always provide that pathway of opportunity for our clients, right?
Yep.
So yeah, to answer your question, I mean, how am I preparing our clients for our listings over here in this market? Number one, always well, pre-negotiating, right, is one. Having our fingers on the pulse, and just having client expectations, right? Just setting the expectation from the start, I think is the you know, it's really crucial, especially on the listing side, for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, man.
And you know, can you talk a little bit about the importance of timing right now with
Uh,
regard to listings and
yeah,
the significance of that?
timing is everything. Timing is absolutely everything. You know, it's like I said, you know, it's a really really hot market now, but things can flip, things can overturn, you know, really really quick, right? Like I said, you know, the as a seller, I think one of the not a worst case scenario, but something that you don't want to see is, you know, having your home on the market,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, the next day waking up and seeing a very comparable home, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's a possibility now, because you know, inventory is starting to rise. We're starting to see more inventory now, right?
Yep.
Um,
That
week
comparable home is competition.
For sure, it's competition, and week after week, what we're seeing is we are seeing a rise in inventory right now.
Mm-hmm.
So again, you know, just capitalizing on the moment, and just making sure that, you know, we're ready, you know, just strike when the iron's hot, essentially.
Yep. And ultimately, I mean, like at the end of the day, it's really, you know, we don't put anyone's feet to the fire, uh, but it's important to give our clients the information about what's happening with the market and put them in the best position for themselves. I mean, it's up to them to do what they want to do with the information. Uh, we're always just going to put you in the best line of opportunity, um, and advise based on what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, what we're seeing is yeah, we're starting to see more inventory. Things are shifting around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so if you're thinking about selling, the
Now's the time.
sooner the sooner the better.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I know people often have the, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, you know, regret this, regret that. Yeah, it's if it's something on your mind, if you've been thinking about it, do it now. Sell
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, and
Um,
again, this isn't to, you know, place any scarcity in you know, anybody's minds or anything, but you know,
mhm,
what I'm seeing over here on the listing side, homes are still getting great traction, right? Homes are
yeah.
still getting great attention. However, what we're starting to see, I mean, there are certain homes now where, you know, a few weeks ago, I would expect that, you know, you would get, I don't know, let's say 20 offers on the property or 100 showings on the property. We're seeing that dwindle down a little bit, right?
Mhm.
To, you know, let's say 60 showings and maybe 10 offers, which is still great, which is still awesome, right? However,
Yeah.
it does go to show what we are starting to see in the market.
Yeah.
Right. So again, we are starting to see a shift. Nothing to where it's, oh wow, well, everything's staying on the market now, right? But we are starting to see, a bit of a shift over here where we are starting to see, buyer behavior, and I think part of that has to do with buyer fatigue. And Aron, actually, maybe you can touch up on, buyer fatigue a bit, which is a real thing. So anybody who's watching this right now, buyer fatigue. Why don't you tell us what buyer fatigue is, Aron?
Buyers are fatigued. Um, so, I mean, yeah, because things are so tight, and it's my job as a buyer's agent to protect people from feeling that pain of loss, um, and it's also my job to build trust with people so that they're willing to take my advice. Um, and sometimes trust can be a bit of a journey. So ultimately, sometimes people need to go through. Sorry, my heater's thing.
What do you got
Um,
there? Space heater?
yeah, it's a space heater. It's got one of those like little.
Oh, yeah.
Um, yeah. So I mean, sometimes people need to go through a series of losses before they're willing to do what needs to get done uh, to get things done. And I mean, and sometimes it's not for um, it's not because they're not taking advice. Sometimes there's a top end on their budget, um, and a property seems within their range to contend in, and you might lose a few even with a very strong offer structure, right? Um, and I mean, so some people are, putting offers in and putting offers in and putting offers in, um, and they're not going anywhere. But I'm willing to work with anyone who is open to, hearing what I have to say about how we can actually move them along, um, and get them to where they want to go, and be open to advice, and um, we get them set up on the back end to make sure that they're in the best possible position to succeed. But yeah, man, I mean, like, with such little inventory, and people clamoring over what's out there, there's people are just kind of like, geez, we lost another one,
Yeah.
or whatever. Um, so people are getting tired. Yeah.
But with that being said, Aron, I think that's the one area that you're really good at. Is getting your buyers excited time after, even if you do go through a loss here or there with the property,
Yeah.
your buyers are ready to go again and again and again
Oh,
until
for sure.
right.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the it's just the mindset and just the information that you instill with them. For example, I don't want to throw shade on anybody over here. Just with some of the feedback calls I make, it's I don't want to say it's depressing, but it's a little sad. I'm talking to realtors and they're telling me, they like the property, they don't want to put an offer in because they feel like they stand no chance at all. And it's like, well, if this is within your budget, like this is your job to prepare your clients the best that you can, to put them in the best opportunity that you can to just to give them a shot, right?
Sure.
And they're just, the self-esteem I find right now is just it's low right now. It's crazy. it's crazy.
But
So,
yeah, I mean, it's like, so if there's an instance where I'm working with a buyer and I genuinely am looking at the lay of the land, um, I'm looking at their budget, the price point, their ability to compete on it. If I don't think that we can actually get it done, then I will speak with my clients and say, I don't think we should put an offer in. And I'll do that because if it can't be done, I would rather not contribute to the inflation of the market. Because if you know you're submitting an offer for a client and you're just like, this isn't going to do it, you know it's not going to do it, you're contributing to pushing the price up of the neighborhood and of everything, right? And that's based on, maybe there's one guy in there who's like, this house is mine, I'm getting it. And they might come in with that wild number, and because you came in with a number that you knew wasn't going to do anything, it's going to make that guy go, there's another one. All right, then this house is mine. I'm going to do this.
Yeah. Let me call my parents. Where's the reserve fund at?
So like, I'll have that conversation with my guys to be like, I know this one's not going to do it, guys. Like it's, if at the end of the day they hear that and they want me to do it, I will, of course I will do it. But I think that's an important conversation to have too, and maybe they need to do a couple of those before they go like, oh geez, things are, you do have to really pay attention here and like, look at what that house sold for. Look at what we came in at. We got to get serious here. You know what I mean? So it's part of the education, but it's also, everybody also learns at their own pace, and they need to understand things at their own pace and in their own way.
For sure. So, I mean, with that being said, we'll cap it off over here with, the one question I wanted to ask you on the buyer side is, how are you preparing, your buyers in this market over here?
Yeah. Well, first things first, pre-qualification all the way, like so important. You need to be working with somebody that has the means to actually close on a property. They're pre-qualified for a mortgage. Exactly how much they can spend. Super important. That way you're not spending any time looking at houses that are outside of the range of possibility whatsoever. And then in a market like this, if you're looking at, if you can spend say $600,000, I would say like, let's look at the 499s. Let's look at the $500,000 houses. Let's cap the search there. Or you could leave it at 6 or whatever, but I'm going to have that conversation about, this is what we're seeing out here. So typically if we're looking at a $600,000 house and it's, there's value there. I can't tell you what it's going to go for now, but I could advise you on offer day, depending on how much demand is on that property.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, pre-qualification, got to know how much you can spend. Got to know that you have the means to do it. Having a conversation about expectations, just kind of seeing where people are at in terms of, being realistic, and just hitting the pavement and looking at properties that are within your means to actually be competitive on. Because if you're looking at a $600,000 house and you can spend $600,000 and there's 15 people bringing an offer to the table, you're not going to be able to be competitive at asking price.
Definitely not. Yeah.
So if you go and see the $500,000 house and you can spend $600,000 and there's 15 people, you might have a leg to stand on, right? You can be competitive. You have an extra $100,000 to throw around there. So just making sure people understand how this all works, and then really having a conversation about bidding wars and not to be scared about them. And the one thing I like, people have this feeling like, oh, I'm getting worked here. I'm getting greased on these, like we're overpaying for this house. And it's that's really something. I think that if you want to be successful in this market, you have to try to get over the feeling that like, oh, I'm a sucker, I'm paying so much money for this house. the thing is that it's like you're not overpaying for the house. There's no intrinsic value in a home. Like it's not how much were the bricks and the lumber and the
Yeah, yeah,
it's all about like it's all imposed external value that's placed on it for any number of reasons. Um, so the fact that the houses are selling for this price means that that's how much they cost.
Mhm.
That's how much they're worth right now.
The value is
And
what you put on it.
that's it.
Yeah.
And there's no getting around that. That's just how much it costs now.
Mhm.
So it's important to just, and say you win a house in competition. There's 14 other offers, let's say. You also know, that if you were to turn around and sell that house, there's 14 people that would be interested in purchasing it at the time, right? So it's like it's not like you're stepping into this forum to purchase this thing for this outrageous price, and no one else thinks that that it's not worth it. It's like that's just kind of how much it costs,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
a lot of people think it's worth it. So it's
Yeah.
like that's the value,
Yeah, I agree.
It's interesting times.
Yes, sir. Awesome, man.
Yeah,
Well,
buddy.
that was an awesome chat. We went a bit over the time frame, but that's okay. I always love chatting with you, Aron. You're my my go-to. So guys, if you have any questions about the market right now, the current climate, anything that we didn't touch base on, or anything that we did touch base on that you want us to go a bit more in depth in and explain a bit more, feel free to reach out to us. My number is 905-746-5418. Again, it's Henry Dang, Knighton Real Estate Advisors. You can reach me on email at henry@knightonrealestate.com. And Aron, where can we reach you, brother?
You can reach me at Aron at knightonrealestate.com. That's Aron with one A, ARON. And my number is 905-536-3677.
Perfect, guys. We'll see you sometime in the future for episode 3, right, Aron?
I think so.
Yes. Awesome. And yeah, guys, have a stay safe and have a great weekend. All right.